All right, what's up everybody? Welcome to the yarn building studio here, and I am deep in it, deep into Brewster green perfectionism. I told myself when I bought this car I was going to get sort of stack the deck or unstack the deck, get all my projects done, get things organized. My drawers are now organized. I've gotten all the little projects out of the way. You know, Helen is almost there, and so I'm now ready to start digging into this car. And I thought, you know, I'd do a couple of panels a day, no big deal. You know, do a compounding, maybe do a little bit of aggressive compounding because I know the car's pretty scratched, and then, you know, just figure out a process, figure out what works. And so I started on the hood, and so I started, you know, doing my normal test spot area, and I ended up doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 different test spots trying to figure out what worked. And so I think I have a decent process down now. And this is the weirdest paint I've ever dealt with. I don't like really using the term soft or hard, you know, because different paint systems have different, you know, different reactions to different stuff, to different polishes. And I feel like I have a decent enough arsenal of polish options. Like, I don't think you want to just keep trying different things and have 50 different things. You can change the number of passes, how much pressure. So there's a lot of factors. You know, Kevin Brown talks about this, about not changing too many variables. You know, and Jason Rose has taught me a lot about that too, about tons and tons of variables. So I'd made a post on Instagram sharing the fact that I'm doing 5 steps. Well, it's not really 5 steps, it's really 3 steps. I'm adding a mid-tier step. I'm having to do 5 steps personally because I have 3 steps of compounding that I'm going to show you, and then a step of mid polish in order to get the compounding defects out, and then a finishing polish. And the process is quite a bit different than what you've seen me do in the past. So I'm going to try to show you this fender here. We're going to work on capturing as much as we can. I want to show you what, so this has not been polished at all. This, I tried another method here this weekend, hoping that I could skip a step. And I've never seen a paint, other than maybe some blacks, that haze up like this. So it hazes crazy, it ticks up really crazily, but I need to do that in order to get the scratches out. So I'm going to turn the lights off, and we're going to try to capture what the condition of the paint looks like. And then what I may do is I'm going to get my depth gauge out. Are these fenders? What are these fenders? Plastic or aluminum? It feels like aluminum. I'm not sure what the fender is on this. Clearly this is carbon fiber, but I have the Posi Tector Del Fesco, the one that will do any panel. So we should be okay to maybe get a paint reading. So let me show you where we're at here, and then we can try to get a reading on it. So this here has been polished by medium wool up to this point. Can you, Chris, can you see this line right here? So this is the unpolished line, and this is the polished line. So look at the difference in how much. This is from yellow wool, Rupes, Cutmax, right? And so you can see the difference in how much marring and how much defect, how much of a new defect is being added. But let me see if I can point out. Can you see this scratch right here?
Not really, but...
Let me see if I can find a bigger scratch to show you. Here's one right here. So can you see it with your eyes?
At this angle, but
a scratch there, there's a scratch there. So there's a scratch this way, there's a scratch that way, there's a scratch here, there's a scratch there. So these were scratches not from polishing, but were there. And so I've added all these defects, I've done all this marring to the surface, and I've removed some of the scratches, but not all of them. In fact, there's a bunch of them still left. And so what I'm finding I need to do, so if this were quote unquote soft paint, I wouldn't have been able to do that heavy compound with a moderate pad and wiped it out. I'm having the same experience with microfiber, and so I'm having to do multiple sets of passes. And so part of this transition here, part of this issue I'm dealing with, or part of where you can see the difference between the dark green and the marred green, is there's actually quite a bit of oxidation in the paint from it probably sitting at port and sitting in various areas. You can also see there's some little speckled junk that's on here. Let me see if I can find a bigger scratch. So like right here, there's scratches. I know this is really hard to capture on cameras. This color is one of the hardest colors to see as well. So lots of scratches, lots of weird like little something, little speckles. I don't know where that's come from. It's not polish. The good news is all those speckles are coming off. So what I've tried, let me turn the lights back on. Hazed, unhazed. Now I can get the haze completely out. Like if we look at our hood here that's been completely done, all 3 steps, it looks pretty darn good. So I'm able to get all the scratches, all the swirls, all the issues out, but I'm going to show you how much work is required. Oh shoot. Please tell me that's just okay. I thought that was a scratch. Oh my gosh. So I'm able to get all the scratches, all the squirrels, all the marring out by doing this multi-step process. And I'm micromanaging this a bit more than I probably should because I'm going to be doing paint protection film over this, which is going to cover all this stuff up. But I want it to be dialed. I want it to look great. So this is the Posi Test DFT, but this isn't going to work because I'm pretty sure this isn't going to work. Let's see. I think this is plastic. Oh, okay, it is aluminum. Okay, so it won't work on this because this is carbon fiber. Okay, so this has been polished here. This has not been polished there. So let's get a few readings. Depth gauges are kind of... So 125 microns, 121, 113, 112, 102. Shoot. Maybe I shouldn't have gotten this out. I don't want to know if I'm removing that much paint. There's no way I'm removing that much from one round of polishing. Okay, yeah, I didn't think so. This is why these things I find not very useful. So I haven't polished here. 98, 102, 109, 120, 114. So the only way to really make this useful, so we know that up here is 120. So remember that, 121, let's just say 120 on average. And then we know that down here is around 100. So when we start polishing that, we'll kind of see what we're getting. That made me nervous there for a second. I'm like, there's no way from one pass of polishing I'm removing 20 microns of paint. You might remove like 2 or 3, but we're gonna find out. So we'll see what this 120-ish goes down to on this top piece here, and then we'll use this here as a guide of around 100 and around 120. Okay. That's easy enough to remember. Good. I know this other one that I have, you gotta frickin' put some gel on there, and it shows you multiple layers and stuff, but it's frickin' complicated. I need to use it more and get it nailed down. All right, so what I started with, what I tried first, just to bring you up to speed so you aren't yelling at me in the beginning. So I knew that normally you would start with a foam pad and see what happens. I knew that wasn't gonna work. So I didn't even go there. So I started with Rupes microfiber. And I'm pretty sure, I need to get this clarification from Jason Rose or Todd Helm. I need to ask him about this. But I'm pretty sure that the white and yellow and blue, so these pads, I'm pretty sure that the microfiber material is the same material. It's the same cutting material. The only thing I'm not sure though, if you look at it, the yellow does look different, than the white, the actual microfiber material. So I need to ask about that. The main thing, I was pretty sure, is that the interface is different. So the blue has a more aggressive interface, so it's not going to contour as much. I haven't been using the blue on this because this car is really curvy, and so I've been using primarily the yellow. But I mean, if you look at the difference, maybe someone can in the comments clarify this, but I need to clarify this with Rupes. I was under the impression that these were the same cut, it's just a different interface, you know. So they don't even call these, they don't really call it, I guess they do call it ultrafine. But I thought I'd remember Todd telling me that at Rupes at SEMA that there was no difference in the microfiber, but I may have made that up. Okay, so anyway, I started with Jescar correction compound. Started with this, didn't do a whole heck of a lot, so not aggressive enough. And then I jumped right to this. This to me was leaving too much behind, too much marring, too much ticking. It was correcting about the same as the Cut Max was. So I found that the Cut Max on this particular paint was doing a better job at leaving less defects behind. Now part of that is probably because this does diminishing polish and the Rupes is non-diminishing. So that's probably part of it. Then I tried doing just a single pass and then tried finishing with yellow, and the perfect finish didn't do squat. And so I don't even remember what all the different things I tried. But what I ended up doing, I'll show you this. So we're going to cut a few times, get all the defects out with this and Lake Country wool, or I'm sorry, Lake Country on a dual action 1-inch, the spot treat. Remember that when you're doing dual action polishing, that the most aggressive part of a dual action polisher is near the center. And so when you have a 1-inch pad, the smaller the pad, the more aggressive, the more it's cutting. So this is a 12mm orbit on a 1-inch pad, pretty darn aggressive. So we do need to be careful with this, but we're going to spot treat some of the deeper scratches that may not come out from our normal polishing. I'm also blowing out pads quite a bit and doing that thing, doing what I can to try to eliminate buildup in the pad. So first step is this. Second step is this. So a sort of mild, kind of, I guess, in between finishing and medium polish, and a medium pad. And then I'm finishing the project with a very soft white pad and perfect finish. But I've got to do, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different steps. I don't want it to be that, but that's just what I'm finding is working. And I know all you guys are going to start yelling at me and freaking out and all that, and I am with you. I would have told myself the same thing, that this is stupid, you're doing it wrong. But I'm telling you, the thing that would solve all of this would be rotary, but I don't know how to do rotary for squat, so I would do more harm than good. You know, rotary is, your skill set is measured in, hundreds of hours, where you can develop a pretty decent skill set with dual action in dozens of hours. So, 1,000 hours rotary is probably equivalent to 100 hours on a DA as far as your expertise. But I'm sure some of you guys who've been using rotary for years say you can come in and knock this car out in no time, and I don't. It's not that I don't believe you, I do. I just can't. With me behind the rotary, it's not going to work. I don't have the experience. I don't have the desire to have the experience. Although this is making me change my mind that maybe I should consider. I like to prime this, and then because this is a brand new pad, I like to go blow it out because you see all these fibers are falling off. So just to make less of a mess. Okay, so I just for the camera purposes, I'm going to skip this. This section here took me like an hour and a half maybe, and working on all this with the 1-inch and rotary and all that kind of crap. So I'm gonna do that off camera. So we're gonna focus on this. So actually, let's start. I'm gonna start down here and work my way, and that way we can see what's going on. But I need to I want to see how much paint we're removing too. I need to get some light over here. So before you get too excited here, bent out of shape, or yelling at me too much, just to kind of, you know, I've, you know, some of you aren't going to believe me, and it's probably going to make people triggered, but let's just be realistic here. So let's talk realistically about my skill set. You know, I've seen hundreds of people polish in person over the years, have, you know, gone to different trainings and things like that. You know, I put myself in the kind of maybe mid-tier professional level. Certainly not in the upper echelon of like some, you know, really great polishers. So I'm not a great polisher, but if I was in business polishing, I would be like in the middle of the pack as far as I think my skill set. And so this is challenging my skill set. If you're someone like, you know, Jason Kilmer or Andy Ward or you know, Red's Detail or Shine Doctor, some of these guys, or you know, clearly, you know, Jason Rose, or, you know, something like that. Somebody who has hundreds and thousands, tens of thousands of hours on a machine. I probably have approaching 1,000 hours on a machine. Maybe, I don't know how many cars I've done. And so there's probably some tricks of the trade that I don't know about that could probably be used on this paint, but this is the most challenging paint that I've ever dealt with. Again, I don't do this for a living, but I think I'm at the point of, like, you know, again, a decent professional level. And you can just make you feel better about yourself. You can scoff and kick and scream about that. That's fine. I'm not trying to show off, or I'm just trying to be realistic here. Talk about where I'm at in the level of this ability to be able to correct this. Not sure why that matters, but it seems relevant to this conversation about what I'm having to do this. See how this goes, but what I've been doing is 1-inching the whole edge. We'll see if I can get it with the 3-inch. So I'm at speed 3. And this thing it's okay from a spinning perspective, not stalling, but if I was doing more 3-inch, I'd probably get the flex out, the flex corded. The other thing that's really odd is that oftentimes in a soft paint, you know, wipe off would cause potential problems. But I've found that I haven't had any toweling, and you can usually tell from a towel because you'd get some more straight line scratching. But the towel hasn't been adding any kind of imperfections, which is good. It's good news. So I'm able to wipe off pretty well. Okay, so that's the position I get to, and then what I want to do is I want to assess and see where I'm at and look for potential areas. But look how much darn marring. So I did to right here. So from this line, like, it's green, but oxidized green, and then marred city. So look how much I'm adding a bunch of defects to remove defects. This area wasn't particularly scratched up. So yeah, I'm looking for deeper scratches. Oh, I just shot myself right in the eyes. I'm looking for deeper scratches that didn't come out. The other thing I'm also looking for, I'm looking to see how the edge has come out. And what I found on this paint, this is what I suspected. The 3-inch is doing a good job up to the edge. Go up to the very edge, but the 5-inch, it wasn't doing as good of a job. So that's why I was getting the separate 1-inch out. Okay, so there's a little bit deeper scratch here that I'd like to address. Figures. On camera, I don't have to do a lot of addressing, but at least you'll get to see. So normally doing that wouldn't look like this. It wouldn't look like I just scratched the crap out of the whole car. Normally, when you do a compound, it would finish down quite a bit nicer. This to me reminds me of more of like an aggressive wool rotary polishing, you know, but in a random fashion. And so this paint is just really, really odd. Combined with it being pretty jacked up. Okay, there's another one right there. Combined with it being pretty jacked up from Porsche. So the little spots that I want to address. Right here. So I just put a little dab, knowing that I want to come back to that. These deeper imperfections, they won't come out with the 5-inch. So I'm having to go and hit it more aggressively with the 1-inch pad like this. Wait till you see how much marring is done then. Doesn't take much though. I think you want to be really careful doing something like this on an older car. Because you might end up beating it up more than you want. So now, that area looks good. Okay, so I got that scratch out with just that little extra bit of movement. I found, again, yeah, and I got this one out too. I'm not going to be able to show it. I want to do that one more time. Let me put my finger there. Got it. Okay. So then I feel like it could still use a little bit more refinement. I'm going to blow out my pad. I'm going to do it with a 3-inch. Always turn the rupes off so you don't actually fling it. I'm going to do one more quicker pass with compound. Actually, I take that back on this. I think this is good enough. So most of the areas of the car, like over here, I found that I needed to do another set of passes of the compound, but I don't think I need to do that here. Here looks okay. Somehow I gained some paint. Still in the 120s, remember? This was like 110s, 108. It's hard to tell, but it sure appears that I'm not removing anything. Very little if I am. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is swap pads. So I wouldn't normally do this. I'm just doing this for the camera so Chris doesn't have to stand here all freaking day. This panel will take me 2 or 3 hours to do. But now I need to refine see all that haze? I need to refine all of that. And that's what this is gonna do. So normally I wouldn't have to do this step. But what was happening is yellow pad and this wasn't finishing down enough and wasn't getting out all the haze. White pad obviously wasn't doing that either. And so I added this intermediate step to help set me up for the finishing stage, if you will. That's where then you start thinking, well, this is a really soft paint because you need to kind of like think about it like wet sanding is that you'd start at 1,000 or maybe you start at 1,500, go to 2,500, go to 3,000, maybe 4,000. Most people would go from 3,000 to compound, but you're kind of doing graduated steps downward. And so now we'll show a difference in refinement here with this. Again, normally we'd want to do the whole panel, but just for the sake of our video. Made a huge mess here. So this is Rupa's yellow. Rupa's yellow is okay to wipe off, not as nice to wipe off as the Sonax stuff. Okay, so let's take a look. Pretty buttery. So all of my, still hazy. Oh boy. This is where I'm gonna drive myself freaking berserk. Chasing, chasing, and chasing. I mean, where do you draw the darn line? Still hazy, but now it's ready. I removed enough haze so that now it could finish. And so that's when we add the white pad. Then we go to perfect finish. I find always make sure you shake up perfect finish well. This is why, you know, depth gauges and gloss meters and all of that, they're just, you know, because the clear coat is jagged, you know, what you could do, if you really wanted to do well with it, you would want to do like a bunch of readings and take averages of different areas, tape it off. So again, really, it's just 3 steps. Heavy compound, medium, intermediate step, and finishing. And a lot more inspecting than I normally do. Normally I can find a decent process. Because this thing is so darn jacked up, I'll try to show you some other areas on the car that were a little more beat up. So I wonder with this car coated without PPF how it would do. Like, would it scratch up all the time? I mean, it needs another, it needs that second set of compounding, I'm telling you. I knew it. I knew better. So when I get down to this refined stage of finishing, then I can see, so here is a, I know you won't be able to see it, but there's an old pigtail right there from a machine sander still. So I'm gonna have to go back and do it again. And I'll show you over here that I'm not full of crap. So this one, that combination, oh boy. I need to stop looking. It's gonna get covered up by PPF. This combination here looks darn good. I just saw one. Little tick mark there. But this looks pretty fantastic. Coming down to here. Did all this. PPF, it's gonna get covered by PPF. I might have to call a rotary guy here to come in. I just don't want to yank that much paint off the car. I mean, if rotary's done at low speed with the right, under the right hands, probably remove less paint than what I'm removing, but nice. Just some of these curves There's a few embedded deeper scratches. You're not going to be able to see it, but I can see it. This has already been done. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm in for a struggle. It's gonna be rewarding, I hope, at the end of this. I'm doing one panel a day. In 17 days, I'll be done. And then I get to send it to Ryan, and we're gonna cover it all up with PPF. All right, it's next day. I've been barely touching this thing. So I finished the whole front clip. I was here till like 9 o'clock last night. I think I started polishing at 2, so I put in another 6 or 7 hours, put my headphones on, listened to some podcasts, and got at it. It's good. It's like 95%. There's a few little, like if you get the light out and you really micromanage, there's a few like little baby ticks here and there. I just found myself just chasing. I have to draw the line. So I'm gonna remember this is gonna get covered with PPF. So the whole front clip is done. I worked on the front bumper for several hours. What I needed to do, you saw me, yesterday at the end of what I thought was the end of the video, just kind of, and I went and re-looked at this fender. I needed to do a little bit more refinement with the yellow wool and the yellow Rupes polish. That it needed in some areas, rather than me going and re-chasing and continue to compound all day. If I did like another couple of passes, so did my first set of passes with the yellow wool, and then came back and followed a little bit more with sort of like no pressure, just kind of going over that area again, or maybe getting the 3-inch out with yellow wool on a certain area like this area up here. I think because of the curve, I did almost get like dug in tick marks and like residual of the sort of the end or the head of the scratch that I didn't get out in the initial compounding. But so I guess technically I added another step to the process, but I've got it like 90, let's say 98%. There's a few little, like if I micromanage it, but again, I don't want to just keep chasing forever. I don't want to keep removing paint. From the gauge, again, you'd be able to tell if you're removing like 20 microns. I'm not removing that much. So even with all those steps and all that rubbing on the car, we haven't removed that much paint. So we're in good shape. So front clip is done. I did the windshield. You need to be careful with this lightweight glass. So I just did a light polishing. All that smudginess is on the inside. It's amazing. This car's been sitting, how much off-gassing you're getting from all the glues and stuff in the interior. So from here on out, I'm going to work through, basically one panel at a time. I'll probably work on the roof and the A-pillars tonight. Tomorrow, work on a door and the door jamb, and just kind of try to enjoy the process, especially now that I've gotten through the fight. I know what I need to do in order to get this to work. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope this makes sense. I'm not going to read the comments in this video because I know what you're going to say. You're crazy. This is easy. I'm telling you, this is the weirdest paint I've ever encountered, and the result is pretty good. But man, I've had to work for it. It's making me second guess doing any kind of metallic-less paint to sample. So anyway, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.